My dad wanted to call me Joe Sakato. So he was the sword bearer for one of the samurais. His name was Joe Taro. So my dad wanted to call me that, Joe Taro. So he sees in the paper GEO. He says, "Oh, that's Joe." But he didn't know that it was, well, to him that looks like Joe, GEO, Joe. So he gave that to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Okay." So he puts down GEO, and the vital statistic looks at it and says, "Oh, that's abbreviation for George. George." But they all call me Joe. Joe this, Joe that. And I got to high school and he says, "You better start using your real name. Your name is George." So I had to use my real. The birth certificate says George, so George T. Sakato. It became George T. But all my life I've been called Joe. And that's to this day, I go by, somebody says Joe, I say, "Yeah." Somebody says George, I say, "Yeah." Childhood days, we used to run around the block of the city with either skateboards or we made these skates on 2x4s with a apple box sitting on top and scooters. So we scooted around the block. And in 1930, I remember that we was playing out in the street and had an earthquake. And I couldn't stand it. The pepper trees were shaking like this, and then bricks was coming off the top of the buildings, falling down, and that was the first experience of an earthquake. I was bad in school because I ditched school. I didn't pay. I played more than I studied. I should have studied, but I didn't. That's why my grammar didn't last too very well. I didn't pass because this was going to be our country. We're going to live here. They wanted to send a couple of us boys to Japan because Japan had my father's brothers didn't have any boys in the family. To keep the name of the family going, they wanted one of us to go to live in Japan. Neither one of us says, "No way, we're going to go there." So we stayed. This is where we were born and raised. This is where we're going to live. And I went to school for Japanese school. I think I took my lunch and my football and forgot my books. Still, my education went downhill where every time I turned around. We had a barber shop and a pool hall and a bathhouse where the Union Pacific and Southern Pacific Railroad came through the town, which was the hub city for Union Pacific and the railroad section of it. And the conductors and the trainmen would all come in for haircuts and take a bath, and so there were the play pool. And after my grammar school times, we moved to Redlands, California. So in my high school time, we went to I graduated from Redlands High School. And while I was in Redlands, we had a fruit stand and meat market combination. So after we got graduated, we was working in the store, meat market. And when Pearl Harbor was on, we heard Franklin opening up the store, and Franklin Roosevelt was on the radio, and he says Pearl Harbor was being bombed. We couldn't believe it. Pearl Harbor bombed. Oh no! And that changed everything. Yeah, they got the orders, and he says you cannot go more than 5 blocks, 6 blocks away from the house, and we had to stay indoors, and we could never drive anywhere. And so this lasted for a couple of months, and then the orders were to come that we were going to go to relocation centers, the camps, or if we voluntarily moved out, then we would be able to move out. So they gave us 3 days to move out, and we tried to sell what we get, salvage for what we get from the store. We just bought a whole brand new meat case, cost us $800, and we turned around and we sold the meat case for $500 and threw in the store. We had to move or go to relocation centers, or prison camps. They call them relocation centers. But then we were able to move because a friend of ours that brought our produce, he offered to move us to Arizona, which our brother-in-law's brother was living in Arizona. He says to move to Arizona. So we packed what we could in his little truck and we moved to Arizona. Then we were on the south side of the tracks in Phoenix. They had to go to Camp 2, so we had to move again to the north side of the tracks. And so we finally was invited over to one of the friend's house to stay in his back porch, and we moved into his back porch, and so we didn't have to go to camp. My brother was already a first draftee. He was already in the Army already. He was out at Fort Ord when Pearl Harbor was down. And so they had to ship him back east, inland, to Fort Leonard Wood, Kansas, Missouri, I think it was. And then my 3 younger brothers below me and my 2 sisters, her husband, and my other brother above me, we went to, he had opened up a fruit stand out in southern part of Phoenix, and we worked on a farm, and I picked up cantaloupes. I weighed 165 pounds when I graduated high school, believe me. And when I got through picking cantaloupes for that summer, I was 135 pounds. I lost 35 pounds, sweating it out. I could never, I was no farmer, so somebody offered me a job in his little grocery store, so I worked in his grocery store. Parents, they were, so they were aliens, considered as aliens, so they couldn't get their citizenship. So, but after the war, we finally didn't get our citizenship, so she did apply for citizenship. They lived, worked on the farm and did what they could do. And that was no life for them either, because they were barbers and they were never farmers. And they was be out in the hot sun. And Phoenix is 100, 110. I visited those camps when I was working, and we were able to go into camp and visit. And I visited 2 of those camps. As for the teenagers, they had all kinds of fun with it because they had block dances and this and that. They didn't mind, but the older folks and the camps were, you had a paper barracks, 4 units in a whole barracks, and no more than 6 in one room. You had 8 or 10 children, but 2 of them were going to have to live with somebody else. And then hot, Poston was out near the Blythe, near the border of California and Arizona. It's out in the middle of the desert. The windstorms would come, the winds would blow up, and comes up through the roof, the floor, because they're just, so there's space in between. There's nothing on top of the floor, so the wind would blow up underneath, and hot tar paper, the heat just penetrated the tar, and it was hot. And I didn't know. They suffered. As far as we were concerned, we figured, well, our parents says, this is your country. Join there, do your best, but do not bring shame to the family. So don't do anything that to dishonor the family's code. We had to prove our loyalty. This is going to be our country. We had so we had to volunteer to show our loyalty. Who was going to fight for the United States? This is our country. We're going to fight for it. To show our loyalty, we all volunteered to join the Army or Air Force if we could. We never did. Only one fella was able to join the Air Force, and he was from Nebraska. They thought he must have looked like he was a white boy. But he was in the Air Force as a bombardier. The National Guards from Hawaii were already in the Army. It was the National Guards protecting the islands, Japanese Americans. They didn't know what to do with them, so the Army shipped them to Camp McCoy, Wisconsin, where they took their basic training over again. And they shipped the unit, the 100th Battalion, was shipped to Italy, Sicily, Monte Carlo, and then Monte Carlo, Mount Cassino. So they did the Battle of Mount Cassino. That island, that hill with the abbey on top, they should have left it alone and skirted all the way around it. Took them 3 months to decide to do that. Then they finally bombed the casino. But the 100th Battalion became known as the Purple Heart Battalion because they were all being shot trying to climb that hill just to take the casino. That was bad. Then they had the Arno River. They had to go across. And then, in the meantime, I was at the 4 Foot. When the units got to back, General Mark Clark has told the president, if you have more men like this, send me more. When I tried to get the Army Air Force in 43, my draft card says 4C. So I joined. He says, no, your draft card says 4C, you're an enemy alien. We can't accept you in the Army Air Force. So after the Mount Cassino battle, Roosevelt decided that we could join the Army. So we had all the volunteers from Hawaii, all the volunteers from the camps, relocation centers, various relocation centers, all were able to get in the Army, and they formed the 442 Regimental Combat Team in Camp Shelby, Mississippi. Hattiesburg, right out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And they took their basic training and went overseas to join the 100th Battalion. In the meantime, I says, well, if they're going to accept, I could join the Air Force again. So I signed up for the Air Force, and I got my orders to go to Fort Douglas, Utah, and they shipped me to Camp Blanding, Florida. So I'm out there looking for the airplanes, and there's no airplanes. It says, you're in the infantry. Thank you. I wasn't a soldier. How I got to become a soldier, I don't know. You're up early in the morning, the sun's not even up. Taps one, the sergeant said, rise and shine. Well, it's still dark out there. You gotta get up and brush your teeth and get out on the line, and it's okay. Roll call, they call you. Then you have to get up, get back in, then get ready to go for breakfast. So you rush again, hurry up and wait, and there's a big line, so you have to wait again to get in line for breakfast. So you go through the line, you get breakfast, and You get powdered eggs, then you get powdered mashed potatoes, powdered milk. You got coffee though, so you had coffee. So you get the SOS on toast. Okay, but that's actually it's what's a mixture of corned beef and something and so they call it SOS. There's another word for it, but we'll leave it at that. On a shingle, right? So we had that, but then you get up and you gotta go back and then you gotta get your rifle. We go out and then you walk all day and all night. I wasn't good at anything. I couldn't march. We was walking 25-mile hike, and I had a kid in front of me who was a little shorter than me. So we'd tell him to drop out so we could fall out, and we would follow him. He didn't drop out. He kept going, and we had to march 25 miles in full field pack and blisters. Oh, God. So we got back to camp and cussed him out. I said, why didn't you fall out? My God. Then we went out on a rifle range and shoot at this target. Big target out there. I've got this rifle, I'm shooting at that. Then the target guy, he's got a pole with a round red ball on the end of it indicating where you had hit the target. He would point this area of this side but I got this motion like this, and so I said, Cadre Sergeant, what's that? He says, you didn't hit the target. That rifle I couldn't shoot. Maybe if I was 50 feet or 25 feet, I could shoot it, but 100 yards out there, man, looking at that scope, either I had the range find wrong or I didn't have it dialed windage right or whatever. I missed the whole target. That target was 5 feet by 6 feet high. You know, we go out and throw grenades. So first we're throwing dummy grenades, okay. Next time we go out, you pull the pin and you throw a live grenade. One time we was out there, this one guy pulls the pin and he dropped the grenade. We're all running and ducking and everything. Whoa. Somebody picks it up and throws it to the other side of the barricade. Good golly. I don't know, he was shocked or whatever happened. He was scared, I guess, but to drop it there, oh. So I had to throw it over the barricade, and there's a brick wall in case he did. So they had to hit behind that brick wall and went off. Then the same guy went out. We were to shoot at different dummies as they come up. He missed the dummy, turns around and fires back at it. We're in the back. And he's shooting back at us. Hey. Then I had him in my squad. By basic training, we had one Lieutenant Baker. He was one of the cadremen for Camp Blanding. And we were out bivouacking one time, and he was sleeping underneath a truck, you know, when we have the bivouac. The water tank was on the truck. So one of the guys come by and happened to kick his helmet. And the lieutenant come out, he thought he was trying to kick him, you know. He was mad and chewed us out for this and that. So we had to stand while he chewed us out on that detail. Well, the guy says, I just want to get a drink of water. your helmet was right by the water tank. He kicked the up the hit at night. You can't see it. So he went to get a drink of water, and but that lieutenant was kind of, so he chewed us out for that. But other than that, our training was fine, except for we had a Tennessee cavalryman sergeant from Tennessee. He says, "Sakato, I want you over chair, over chair." I says, "I don't see no chair. What chair?" "Right chair," he says. "Right? There's no chair here." He says, "No, he means right here." "Right chair," right? He wants me right chair. I couldn't understand the right chair, right here and right chair. But other than that, we got along. In fact, he even helped me out because he says, he's telling this one corporal, he says he had stripes, and he says, those stripes don't mean a thing on you. You're taking basic training. You're just like him. He's a private, you're a private as far as basic training. So I told him, how come they don't put KP? They were on KP after that. Then my name was Mud from that. Camp Blanding, we would go out on patrols and various basic training. But we had one fellow from Colorado Springs. He was, no, he's from Pueblo. He would be writing down notes and, this and that. Me and some of the other guys were in the back, sleeping away while the cavalryman was saying something. And when we get back to the camp, what was the lecture about today? So we have to look at his notes. My brother was in Fort Leonard, and I was in Camp Blanding. And we took the basic training over again. We went to Camp Shelby, and from there we shipped overseas, and we became first replacements for the 442 and the regiment and the 100th Battalion. We went together. We were shipped over the same, but he went with the 100th Battalion, and I went with the 2nd Battalion. Took us 28 days from out of Virginia. We were in Camp Kilmer, then we went to Virginia, Newport News, Virginia. He shipped out of Newport News. When we went out, we had two transports. So the day of this seasick, the next day we go out, hey, you got 8 or 10 more ships. By the time we was going through, we had hundreds of ships, convoy. So we would travel north one time. Next night we look up, we're going south, southeast. Next time we're going north again. Get on these board ships and you have try to eat. You go to the line and you get your tray and you lay it down and you look at it. And I left the tray and went up deck and over the side and held onto the chains and heaved it out. I was seasick. I'm going towards Orion. I think I was down. 1 week I might have been all right. The rest of the time I was seasick all the time. Took us 28 days to get across to Oran, Italy, of Africa. And from Africa, we went to Naples, shipped to Naples, and from Naples, in the meantime, 100 Battalion got up to Rome, ready to enter Rome to take it. General Mark Clark says, hold it. So he and his convoy of army patrol went into Rome and took to Rome. So when they entered Rome, I says, and the 100th Battalion didn't get any credit for taking Rome. So General Mark Clark, the army tank took the town. So then when they came back to Naples, that's when I joined the 2nd Battalion, and my brother went to 100th Battalion. And Then we got on board ships and we went to Marseille, France. Going through Corsica Straits, and he says, well, I got to be guard duty, and I'm sitting on top of the deck, and waves are coming over the ship like it just about washed me off the ship. And I holding on to the pole, and I says, what am I doing up here? No dumb German's going to come up here when the waves coming on board this ship. I'm going down. So I told the sergeant, no, he's the guard. Who's dumb enough to get up there and all these waves coming over and wash you overboard? Dumb enough to stay up there. It took us 2 days to go through that thing and get to Marseille. And then they get off of these ships, rope ladders, and you get onto these little barges. So we climbed in these barges, and then one of the Navy men, he says, he gives me a paper bag, and he says, hold on to that. He says, okay, well, you might need it. For an hour, we're going around these ships till everybody gets onto these barges, and then we go towards shore. General Patton had got cleared the area. We could have hit the shore before, but we had to wait an hour. Everybody got on board, and then we hit the shore. I used that paper bag, though. My first day in battle, I've never actually seen any fighting, because we joined the company as they came back from Italy, so they know what to do, you know. So we get up there. We didn't know what incoming was and what outgoing was, you know. When the shell is coming in, you're standing up there like here comes a hit the deck. What do you mean hit the deck? You hit the deck. Boom! Explosion. Then you hear the next one go. Trailing. Oh, that's ours going that way. But then you hear the other one. It's coming in. You hit the deck, and I found myself from here to there, and I picked myself up, and I was black and blue all over, and I ached all over. Had a scratch in my eye. Then I looked down, and I see my buddy. He's laying down, face down, and I picked him up, turned him over, and he got hit in the jugular vein here. And I'm trying to stop that blood. That blood was coming out like a pencil, this stream. I'm holding his, without choking him, I'm trying to hold the blood. And I called the medics, and it gave him plasma, but he lost too much blood, and he died on the way down. Because that was my first known one of our own being hit. And that kind of put me in shock for a while. And then our first platoon and second platoon was already up front. You could hear the machine guns going off. Then the firing going on, and the artillery shells are coming in. We had to hit the deck. I don't know how many times. Here comes the incoming shells. Artillery was coming in. The tree burst. He would hit the tree, and the shrapnels would scatter down. And invariably 3 or 4 of us get hit for each shell that comes in. The German 80 is fantastic. How they was able to hit, and when it explodes forward, goes out. Ours hit it goes everywhere. But this one hits and it just goes forward. And all the shells, the shrapnels, and it's flying all over. We try to, you can't duck. You got 15 to 20 shells, pieces of metal coming at you. How to duck? You can't. You just cross your fingers. You hope you didn't get hit. Or stick your foot out and try to get hit. I stuck my foot out several times and never did get hit. Overlooked the town of Bruyères, and I see this tank leaving the town. The German Tiger tank, he's on the other end, and he gets to this open field, and he turns around, and I see the barrel. Looked like it's pointing our way. But I didn't think nothing of it. I saw a ring of smoke, and a couple of seconds later, wow! Hey, he's shooting at us! Over the hill, running, trying to dig in, and digging in, I dug in 6 inches, and rocks, roots, tree roots and everything. Could never get in and dig in. And the shells were coming out, and then they really start throwing their artillery shells at us. And I'm digging into my helmet and crawling as far as I could. Stick my foot out and see if I could get hit. No, I didn't get hit. Damn. Then all the shells stopped. Now what? Counterattack. The German troops were going to come up the hill. So we had to get down and dig a different foxhole, and dig a foxhole and wait for them to charge up that hill. Then we start shooting at them. Oh, then when I was digging there by the side of the road, and here comes this tank coming in. Click, 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 click. God, I hope that's ours. Nope, Tiger tank. I'm sitting on this side, and another guy named Friday is sitting on the other side. We're digging this fox. He fired at us one round, and it went in between us, and it fired up the hill. So all the shrapnel went forward. So it didn't hit us. If he had fired a little lower, he would have got both of us. But then somebody with a bazooka was up looking for him. He backed up, turned around. He just fired a one shot. Boy, was I sweating that out. I'm looking. What am I going to do? I can't shoot nothing at that tank. Good golly. But he just fired that one shot, took off. We got on top of this hill. Finally, we was walking. Somebody hit a landmine. Blew his leg off, and somebody else got hit in the sides. Then we had to probe for mines. So you got to get our bayonets out, lay on your stomach, and digging for the landmine. In the meantime, you're just sweating it out. Like, yeah, what if I trip that trigger and then blow up in your face? So I was at that section. I didn't find anything. Somebody else found some, but then it would blow up and then it scattered this way. And fortunately, it didn't hit his face, so he was able. But when it explodes, it comes up so far and then explodes, and somebody's bound to get hit. So a couple of guys got hurt, but wasn't too bad. So at least we finally cleared the mines out of it. So we had to go to another hill, and we were watching this, following the ridge of the hill, and there's a road that turned to the right, and the ridge, the other mountain joins it together there. And we were following this ridge, and we got pinned down. So I saw some smoke on this other right-hand side somewhere. So I says, well, I climbed down, crossed the road, went down into the area there, and I started to climb up the hill. And I saw this big tree. Oh, that's nice to hide behind that tree. Log was on the right side of the road. And I see 2 Germans running up the hill, and those are the machine guns. So I fired at them, and I didn't hit them. But on the other side of that log, machine gun come up. The lieutenant, with his hands come up, surrendering. I said, oh, God. They surprised me more than I surprised them. But I took the lieutenant's pistol. I strapped that on my head, And then I told him, I just motioned, go that way. The rest of the platoon was on the left side. So they go. So that was the first machine gun that I took. Big surprise to find. But they didn't think that I was, because that was right above their head, you know. And they were scared too. We're doing about 2-3 weeks of battle, fighting, back, tired and sleepy and everything. But well, one day we was walking this ridge, and here we see one soldier, German soldier out there. He seemed like he was lost. And he's coming by, and so I told him, halt. And he looked up and he's scared, and he ran down below the hill, and there was a big rock down like this. And he went around and he laying down here. I lobbed a grenade down here. Whoa. So I came around this side, and the sergeant went around the other side, and that kid was on his knees and he's shaking like the dickens. We looked at him, and not a scratch on him. How he survived that grenade, I don't know. But we could see this, where it had hit, the shrapnel had hit the rock area. So he must have been laying right down next to that rock, and then got on his knees as it went off. But then we looked at him, and he's only 16 years old. No, maybe he might be 14, 15. But he was kind of lost and shaken up. So we sent him back to the prisoner. I said, God, I should have taken his name and address, but I didn't. That time you're not thinking, you know, these things like that. Some nights we'd go across, and nighttime, tired, and I was tired and sleepy, and I was supposed to be on guard. I'm falling asleep. I fell asleep. Next morning, I got up, and these guys had machine guns and stuff like that. Where'd you guys get those? Where were you last night? Sacked out. I didn't hear a grenade go off. I didn't hear machine guns go off. I was just out, period. You try to sleep at night, you refuse cat naps, but you can't sleep. And but that night I just let go, and I just didn't hear a sound. Well, when a grenade goes off, you don't hear that, you know, you're dead. Other times we hear a snap of something crackle. They shot a cow one night. I said, God almighty. Because you can't see what's out there. You got to go, you know. So I'm crawling out of the foxhole on TP, papers down, go out, do my business, and start crawling back, pick them up, TP, and pretty soon I hear the safety go off. Hey, don't shoot, it's me. I'm trying to find my hole. God. Oh, we have a Colonel Kim, Lieutenant Colonel, he's a Korean. So when he came to this office, 442, this is office right off Fort Benning, Georgia. He's a lieutenant. So they sent him to join us, and then after that he says, come to think of it, Koreans and Japanese don't get along. What are you doing here? And he says, we're all Americans. So he joined. He became an officer and he was a good lieutenant. He was a good. One day he went out on patrol, 2 other fellows with him, and they crawled all day in this ditch and cut. Germans, for some reason, during the afternoon, they take a nap. They think that we wouldn't charge. So they were sleeping. He got them into the hole, and he points the lugger up their nose, and he says, shh. He brought 2 prisoners back. They crawled back. Took them 3 hours to get back, crawling back and forth. He brought 2 guys, prisoners, him and 2 other fellas. But he didn't get no medal for that. Man, I wouldn't do that. Good golly. But he did it. And I respected that. And we had one guy from Hawaii, his brother died, and he go out and he come back with German lapels. So that strip up top here, he'd cut it off, bring it back. That he killed that guy. His brother was killed, so he was just, he would crawl out in the middle of the night, go and see where the Germans are, and stab a couple of them, come back, and he'd have these. I said, where'd you get, you got here? Oh, I wouldn't do that. I went on another hill, we went on patrol to see where the Germans were. And I heard them talking, but somewhere. So we was looking, and I see this guy's foot up there, Germans coming down. I said, so the other guys that hit even Saburo Tanamachi, that guy that was killed, he was hit behind a log, and the German was saying something and instructing a machine pistol coming, shot Saburo's pack off his pack, and I told him, get out of there. And I saw the Germans, and he had those burp guns, and I hit him. I shot him across the leg, knocked him down. And then he was saying something else to the instructor. He finally saw me, so he picked up his machine pistol. As soon as he picked up his machine gun pistol, he was up so far, and I hit him across here. Down he went. And we pulled out of there, and I got out of there, and I says, these guys, he's giving instructions where we're at. We better get out of here. So we know where the Germans, he's on this hill, they're on this hill. So I went back up, and then as I was going back up, I heard an explosion. Boom! Where that guy was at. When we took the hill, I went back there, and that guy that I shot was calling for medics, or we're too late, nobody came. So he got a grenade and stuck it under his head and blew his head off. He was in pain because I got him in the guts and everything. And he couldn't walk, couldn't do nothing. And he was in pain, he just wanted to die. So he just blew his head off. I looked at that, I said, oh God. I think if medics came after him, they probably could have saved his life. But he was just in pain that nobody came for him, that he just committed suicide. We had taken this one hill and come back down, and we had one soldier that was a college student. He was a graduate, so his name was Ben Masoka. He had 5 of the boys, Masoka brothers, were in the army. Mike Masoka, Ben Masoka. But Ben was with me, and we had to go. He was writing a citation about that one hill that we had taken. And then the captain says, well, we want you to go up and meet the colonel of 36th Division up above on a hill, and he wants to locate his men. So what he was writing, he stuck in his pocket and went on patrol with us. So we went up in this area, and we saw this colonel. He says his men is dug in up there, and somewhere up there, would you locate them and for us? So we couldn't understand why we had to go locate one of his own troops. And so we got on and we followed this ridge. They were chopping wood on this side of the hill. When they was chopping woods, that means they were cutting trees like this so that they could put over their foxhole and cover it. Put pine boughs on top of it and put dirt on top of that. So somebody was digging on this side and somebody's chopping wood on this side. So we didn't think that, well, those guys are chopping wood to cover their foxhole. So we went in, we met the group of soldiers in the foxholes. And the sergeant or the lieutenant in that outfit says, we want you to go and see where the Germans are located. Why us? Why did they send us to go out and locate it? When they were there, their own men, they could go out and see where the Germans are at. We went about 300 yards and got pinned down machine gun fire. You walk in, all of a sudden you could hear, hits a tree right next to it. You know, somebody's shooting at me. Hit the ground. And because when the bullet passes you, you don't hear the sound of the rifle. The bullet's passing your head. That's what you hear. Hits the tree, and oh, God. I don't know how I got, to this day, I don't know how I'm here today, alive. I've been shot at so many times that he's poor shot too. The guy was shooting at me. He couldn't shoot. And so I I hit the tree, a bush with a rock pile. And the other guy from Pueblo, Colorado, he's on the left side of me. He did all the taking the notes, but he was out in the open. Ben Mausoka was on the right side of me. He was out in the open. And the guy named Friday on the other side of him they were all out in the open, not behind a bush or anything. Futamata raised his head up and pow! He got hit, went out the back of his helmet. I knew he was gone. A sniper was out there. Mausoka raised his head up. He got shot. And I'm behind this bush, and I could see where the machine gun was, but I couldn't see where the sniper was. And then Friday, he got shot. So I said, Jesus Christ, the sniper, he got me pinned down. He's waiting for me. But he couldn't see me because I'm behind this bush. But that sniper, he had the scope. And he had us pinned down, and as soon as the guys raised their head, bam, he had him. And he was just looking for me to raise my head somewhere. And I just backed out of there. So I crawled backwards, and I went back, and I says, hey, we need some help up here. The troops in the foxhole didn't come out. So I told him, to the sergeant, I says, we got those guys, 3 of them shot right now, right through the head, temple. What are we going to do? We had our field artillery radio man with us, so he called back to the company, says, we're pinned down up here and we can't get anybody to help us out here. So they says to come back. I couldn't get those guys' bodies back. So we left them there. And I found out later that the guy that was writing the citation and everything in his pocket, his body was missing. They took his body because he had all that written material, what company we were, what platoon we were, how many men had taken this one hill, and all this was in he had written up in his pocket. And so I figured that's why they took his body, because he had all this information. But they said his body was in Italy. Now, how in the heck did his body get to Italy? He could never walk. I knew he was dead. And when you get shot through here, and it comes out here, you ain't gonna walk. These fellows that I was with took basic training with me. So that guy, he was one of a raw recruit like the others, and he was from Washington, Wenatchee, Washington. And then the others I had was another guy from Pueblo. He was from Pueblo, but he got shot later on. So I had 6 guys that died on me that I knew personally. When you see them get hit, you know, you wonder, boy, you kind of inside, you know, kind of, oh God, just don't die. But it kind of hurts when you die. I've seen dead Germans shot and their brains blown out. I seen other guys. We was in one area that we had to eat our lunch, and this guy was bloated up like this, and his coat buttons were about ready to burst. If I had a pin, he would have blew up like that. He was just bloated. He was, you know. And guys, we ate our lunch there. Well, we ate crackers. So we always kept the cookies, crackers, what do they call them? So they absorb the moisture and fills up and then bloats up just until you're full, because it expand in your stomach and you're full. So we always save the crackers. But sitting there, and then the German's laying there, and he's like stuffed like a balloon. If we would have stick a needle in it, it would have blew up on our face. Good God. Somebody else was on, he had his head blown off. That didn't bother me. But we seen one of our own. That hurts. So we said, well, we're going to have to take this hill, 617. And we're looking at that hill, and there's an open field, and the railroad tracks going right down the middle. And an open field on the other side. And this hill sits on top of the hill. We were in these bushes over here, and the trees over here. We tried to cross this open field, hit the railroad track, and hit the open field here. Germans had mortar shells up here. They would lob mortar shells down to here. And machine guns were below here, and machine guns were down here. And every time they would try to cross that open field, we'd get shot. So that night, we got and moved, and trucks went around these hills, went around the other hill. We ended up on this end of this hill. We walked all night, walked along this ridge, and at dawn, we started our attack. I was in the center part here, others were down below, and others went above. I went in through, I cleaned out 3 machine guns right below this area here. And I shot, we took the hill, and then the Germans were all scattered all the way around again. So when we took the hill, we waited, and next thing we had a counterattack. They was going to charge us again. So I'm on this left flank over here, on this left side, covering the left flank, and the rest of them were around the other side of the hill. And the Germans counterattacked us, and I had the Thompson submachine gun. I fired 60 rounds of ammunition, 30 clips first, and I reversed the clips, and I fired it. Threw out grenades and everything. And guys were still coming. I ran out of ammunition. I saw a German Mauser rifle. I tried to shoot that. I couldn't shoot that thing like any other rifle could. So I had my pistol, and I fired 3 rounds out of the pistol at the guy who was coming up, and they quit charging. So it was good. Now I got to get down and fill my clips back. I couldn't get my other clip out because it rained, and the holding there was stuck. It just shrunk, I guess. I couldn't get it out in time, so I'm using the pistol instead. So I've got some ammunition again in my pocket, and I start filling my clips up, and I'm laying back. We already jumped into German foxholes. We were using their foxholes. And then when they would quit firing, they snuck around while I was in the hole trying to fill my clips up. They snuck around me. Next thing I look up and I says, hey, they're going up the hill. They stuck past me and going up the hill, and I told the rest of the guys, watch out for the Germans. They got a machine gun up. My friend, he stood up and says, where? And why he stood up, I don't know. The Germans shot him. I crawled over this hole and I picked him up, and he was trying to say something. I holding on to him, and then he just went limp on me. Then when he went limp, he tried to say something, but before we went into this, he had a VAR before, and a platoon sergeant gave that to another company, another platoon, and they gave him a grenade launcher, and he didn't feel good. So I told him, well, you better stay back. No, he said he'll be all right. But I guess something there that he felt that he should go, and yet why he got up, I don't know. And he died. He should have stayed back because he didn't feel right. Because while he had the BAR, he had all kinds of firepower. He got the Silver Star for another hill, I guess, because I didn't know about it. I was so mad. And I cried, and I held him, and what am I going to do? I was mad, and I picked up somebody, got out of the hole, and ran up that hill. I could never climb the hills before, but that day I charged that hill. I was running back and forth zigzag. I was going to get this SOB that shot him, or die trying. So I'm firing, and I'd hit the ground, and I'd run to the other side, and I'd turn it, I'd fire again, and tell the rest of the guys, let's go. And so they all followed me. Finally, we took that hill. Things like that happen. These, you lose it, or you're mad or something, and you do things that, if you had in your right sense, you wouldn't have done it. Something snapped, and I just was so mad, and today's rage and what they call it, road rage, I guess they go. I was so mad I just took off. If I was in the right mind, I don't think I would have charged that hill, because I couldn't climb it anyway. But that day I charged that hill, I don't know how I did it. But in my right mind, I don't think I would have ever done it again. God, I came back and we took the hill. I said, why he got up, I don't know why. But he had a silver dollar in his pocket, 1921. We were both the same age, 1921 we were born. So I took that silver dollar and I sent the rest of his stuff home, but I kept that silver dollar, put his name on it. And after the war, I gave it to his mother. But why he got up, I don't know. So then artillery shells started coming in. So we jumping back in these foxholes, and then here comes another guy. He jumps in the foxhole with me. He's from Mesa, Arizona, So we were talking about what things that were back home. How's the family? How's this and that? We didn't care about the war going on. It was outside. The artillery shells are exploding all over. But we're talking about home, how things were at home, how his family was, and they lived in Arizona, and we were. So that was quite an experience. We forgot all about the war then. At least we were home for a little while. And It was real nice. 2 days more later, we had to go rescue the lost battalion. They would drop supplies, airlift supplies into them. The parachute would land, but it would land the Germans. Germans get it. So they were running out of ammunition. They were running out of food, water. So Colonel Dahlquist, General Dahlquist of the 36th Division says, 442, you go up, do or die, whatever it takes. Rescue those men. To rescue 280 men, 800 of us got killed or wounded, or to rescue that many.
But you got them.
Yeah. So we became honorary Texans. 36th Division made us honorary members. When we go into the Lost Battalion, we got together and I saw him. He came up to see me. He had more clout than I did. I was just private, so I couldn't get around. He was a sergeant. So he could get a Jeep and walk. So then he came up, saw him. Then he got wounded in Italy, back when they went back to Italy. I said, if he heard from home, I said, oh, I got a few letters from my niece. She used to send me. And my younger brother would send. So once in a while we communicate back. And he said, well, he heard from my sister now. So we talked. He says, well, he had to get back because we want to make that charge for the Lost Battalion. So he got in his Jeep and took off, and I had to walk back up the hill. Second day, I'm going up. We're on the left flank, left hill, and 100th Battalion was on the right hill. In the valley was 3rd Battalion units going up to rescue the 141st. We get up there, and the second day I'm going up, I hear this mortar shell going off, and I hit the ground and I landed on that other hill. So I got up and started going again, and boom, oh, I hit the ground again, landed on that other hill. So I got up, on the third round, oh, that's the final round on that hill. That final round landed in the back of me, and I picked myself up. I was over there, and all hell broke loose. All artillery shells started coming in. They knew where we were at, and some of the artillery shells, we had to try to dig in, and I tried to dig, and I couldn't. I ached all over. I tried to dig a hole, and I couldn't pick my arm up. I could pick it from the elbow this way, but then when I wanted to throw it that way, I couldn't pitch the dirt that way. I couldn't lift this arm up. Couldn't understand it, and I happened to look at my pack. I see this hole in the pack. Looked on the other side. The hole came out there. So I take my jacket off, and the hell, I got a hole in the jacket. Then a little bit later, I feel a warm trickle of blood going down the back of my back. Hey, I told the sergeant, I'm hit. Nah, you dig. I'm hit. And he had to come over to look at it. I said, hey, you're not lying, you are hit. He says, aid station is that way. I'm trying to go to the aid station, artillery shells coming in, and I hit in the ground. I don't know how many times. Maybe 20, 30 times, and I get back to the aid station. In the meantime, these guys thought I got wounded in that shelling, because I never did tell them that I was at the whatever hospital I was at. I was at Epinal. Finally, I was in this aid station on top of the hill, and for 2 days, and then they finally trucked me down to the town of Epinal, and there was an Epinal hospital, evac hospital there. They were going to go in, and They gave me a pentothal and put me to sleep, and I came back, woke up, and I see two twin nurses sitting there. Pretty soon they became one. I said, what happened? I finally woke up and they didn't do, I don't feel anything different. He says, well, they didn't figure they need to take it out. It's in my lungs, it's not in the muscles area, and it won't move. And my lungs will probably, they'll build a gristle around that shrapnel, and it's not going to hurt you, it's not going to move, so they leave it in there. It went through my back and hit my spine. The shrapnel ricocheted and went into my lungs. The left lung here, it's about the size of my fingernail. And but it tore up some of the ligaments or something in my back, so when I tried to raise my arm, I couldn't raise it. So they would have me run up a little ladder they had, a lot of slots that I would have to climb with my fingers to exercise it daily. Then I go into a whirlpool to exercise my arms. But it took 9 months to get that thing going so I could raise it up. Once in a while, it kind of holds back. Then when I do go up, but I can go up, but not real good. But I was there for all through November. Thanksgiving was on. Pretty soon, Christmas was coming. Battle of the Bulge. Oh God, I got it. They're going to come down here. I've got to get out of here and go back. But I still could use one arm. No, they didn't have to. They put me on a plane, and I was going to sit on top of a pile of ropes. The weather changed, so they bumped me off the plane. Records went with that plane. I'm back here 2 more weeks. Then they flew me across to Birmingham, England. I'm in the hospital in England, and I hear this stop. And everybody in the hospital ward is ducking under beds and stuff. Just get under the bed. What for? What's going on? I didn't know. Get under the bed. Pretty soon you hear something go, whoom. It landed in the next town, Coventry. Buzz bomb. The Germans were shooting those rocket-propelled. I didn't know. So I'd have to live through the buzz bomb time. Finally got on board, shipped 5 days hospital ship, and got to New York. Boy, to see the Statue of Liberty just made me cry. I was happy. At least I was able to walk, but I couldn't use this arm. So I was in Camp Kilmer for a while, and then after that they would ship me to another hospital in someplace. Then I finally got, the 7th month I was in Vancouver, Washington. Then my kid brother, he sends me a newspaper clipping from a hometown paper, Redlands, California, had wrote up a story that I received a Distinguished Service Cross. So my brother says, "You didn't tell us you got the Distinguished Service Cross." Well, I didn't know. I didn't get it either. So I told the chaplain at the hospital there in Vancouver, and he looked over there. Says, "How did that hometown paper hear about it, and we don't hear about it?" And then, so he looks into it, and then in the meantime, they ship me to Camp McCoy Mitchell Convalescent Hospital in San Diego. I'm sitting in Mitchell Hospital. Another month goes by, and July, well, I'm going to get discharged. The day before I got discharged, Colonel Campbell goes, "I want you to stay over, and we're going to, the medal came. So we want to have a parade for you. The band is on furlough, and they'll be back next week. I said, well, you got 3 fellas that's going to visit with me in Phoenix, and they're going to take a flight back to Hawaii. And we can't make it. So the colonel, he pins the medal on me in his office. It's in there. So I says, well, so well, I got a medal for that. What's that for? It's for the Hill 670. What's it? The hill that you had to run up the hill for. I guess now that you mentioned it, just taking a hill ain't good at it. And so I shot a few guys, but I don't know how many I actually killed. I do. We had, every time we captured some prisoners, we'd take all the, the fells and things off of them. So the squad behind, 200 yards behind, was supposed to be guarding the prisoners. They didn't have nothing. So they joined us. So they were back of us, 10 feet in back of us. What are you guys about doing back here with the prisoners? Then we get surrounded and the prisoners escape and we're in hell of a trouble. But oh well, so they gave me the medal and I went home, come back and we discharged and we said, well, we need to go to take a trip and take a vacation from all this. So we went to Chicago and Indianapolis and Denver. It's only the one that died in my arms. The others, I talked to his brother, and the one that lives in Pueblo, I talked to his sister, but she didn't seem to be that much interested in how. I guess she didn't want to hear how he died, because he went like that. And when they would, Mr. Tanaka, we have a memorial out in Fairmont we built. The architect that did that, his brother was with me, and he got killed. And I tried to talk to the Masaoka family, but then he didn't seem to really wasn't interested he didn't listen right. He knew that he died, but he for some reason thought that he died in Italy. And how he got to Italy, I don't know. And I met one of my buddies that was in the army with me, who was in Denver, and so then he introduced me to my wife, with my girl. And we stayed here a whole week and spent all our money. We had to wire home for money and go home. Then we came back. Then I wrote letters with my wife and we proposed. And I says, how about if we get married? Okay. I even came to Denver in planes that not air, they were propeller jobs, and coming over the Rockies, no air up there, I didn't reason for air, and I went to the bathroom. I was getting nauseous, and I had my hand on a doorknob, and passed out. Next thing you know, the stewardess gave me some oxygen. Landed in Denver, took a bus and went to Portland, Oregon, to Purple Heart Convention. I met Audie Murphy and his sergeant. They were at the Purple Heart Convention up there. So we got together and talked about old time things. So it's a wonder. Then he gets killed in an airplane accident or something. 1953, they had a reunion in Hawaii to begin with, and I just bought a house, so I couldn't go to Hawaii for that. And so in 57, they had it in LA. So my younger brother was getting married. Okay, well, I'll go to LA and I can see my brother getting married, so I went to LA, and then my older brother says, E Company is having a luncheon at this one restaurant, Rubidoux restaurant in LA. Why don't you go check in on them? So I went over to check in on them, and platoon sergeant saw me. Hey, Machine Gun Joe, I thought you was dead. He says, am I seeing a ghost? I never written to the company where I was, if I was alive, because I didn't know what address to write to. All these years that I went through the hospitalization and everything, I guess if I looked far enough, I guess I could have got the Army to find an address for me to write. But then those days I wasn't feeling that to writing anyway, and I didn't know. So all the time that they thought I had left, got wounded, the artillery shell that I must have got killed during that day, artillery shelling. So I didn't write to them. They didn't hear from. They didn't have no reports that I was at a certain place. And they said, well, they had a report that I was at this one hospital. And then after that, they didn't know whether I was living. So when he saw me, he thought I had died all the time. So after that, we had reunions. 1960, so I finally had enough money and went to Hawaii and had a reunion and then back. Then when I could afford it, we go to reunions. Now we have reunions every year in Las Vegas. We can make a drive to Las Vegas and make that. So we go to those every year. Got a job in the post office. I went to school first to try to be a diesel mechanic, and I busted my knuckles all over. Oh, God. Slipped and bolt was slipping, and I busted my knuckles on this. I was working at a post office at night when I was going to school. So I went back to the post office. So 32 years as I get in the post office, I retired. Meantime, 55 years later, the Pentagon calls me and says, we want to come to the White House. What for? Well, we're going to upgrade your Distinguished Service Cross to the Medal of Honor. I says, what's this for? He says, we're going to upgrade your medal. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't deserve. There's others that deserve it more than me. In 1987, the Tuskegee Airmen were awarded, they upgraded their medal, Distinguished Service Cross, to Medal of Honor. So Senator Akaka from Hawaii says, well, how is it that 442 never did get an upgrade? So he had set up the Congress to find out why 442 has only one Medal of Honor, that he had put a helmet on, grenade, and died saving the lives of the others in that foxhole. And he was the only one to receive the medal. And so Senator Akaka and the group of you says, why can't they review our cases and upgrade our medals? So they upgraded 20 medals for Medal of Honors, 7 living, and the others were posthumously. Theirs was better than me. They did what they did, and they deserved what they got for their fighting. Mine was just, I don't know how I was picked to be, just because I shot a few Germans and took a hill. That's nothing. To this day, I still don't believe I got the medal. Why I got it, I don't know. There's others deserve it more than me. But I accepted it for those that didn't come back. So they deserve the medal, not me. There's others that are posthumously, but there's 7 of us living that received the medal. And I says, there's others that deserve it more than me. Even my platoon sergeant, he needs it. But they're all from Hawaii. I'm the only one from the mainland. But you could only bring 10 family. Well, I got friends that want to come, and they all want to come to the White House too. And I said, I got about 30 of them. And he says, no, we can't do that. And I says, well, send me my medal. I don't need to go there. Oh, no, we'll take care of that. Just come. So we finally made arrangements. We went to the White House, and we had 28 something there, and 10 were sitting out there in the gate, you know. And Senator Danny Noe was getting the Medal of Honor also. We were in the same company. He was 1st platoon, I was 3rd platoon. So I says, Senator, you got more clout than I have. You talk to those guards over there and let those guys in. Those guys came in. They were going to put us in a rose room or something, but in the meantime, they had a big tent set up for a Saudi Arabian prince that came. So this big circus tent, mind you, 500 people sitting in there. Air conditioned, chandeliers in there, plants on the side. I couldn't believe it. So we got everybody that came to E Company, they were at the ceremony. What we did for this country is what. Daddy, he's too busy being a politician, still in Hawaii, still in Washington. So he doesn't have the time to, but I'm sure after he gets out, he'll do. Oh, we also went to the Pentagon. And the Pentagon office, there's a Hall of Heroes in the Pentagon. Our names are inscribed on the wall, Hall of Heroes. Now all the other veterans see it. They acknowledge me. They thank me. But the others that don't know anything about it, that's just another piece of jewelry. Or just, that doesn't mean a thing. Because it's just, I don't know. They don't seem to acknowledge that although our true veterans have been in the Army and have been in service know that the Medal of Honor, they acknowledge it. They'll tell me, they'll give me a hand salute. And they even see my license plate. The governor gave me the Medal of Honor license plates. So the guy comes by and he reads that. He gives me a highball as he passes me. We were fighting 2 wars. We were fighting Germans, and we were fighting a war of discrimination. So this is why I volunteered to go out and talk to people. I want to express my feelings as a Japanese American. I'm an American. I fought for this country. I have the right to live and be an American citizen, and I want to be respected as an American. And that's why, to show my loyalty, I'll do it again if I have to. But I don't think I can make it anymore, though.